a very selfish person. So this is my deal. If I will be as energetic and as dynamic as you need me, but everyone has to pay attention. Okay? I don't mind calling students out or pointing to you, but I do need 2 volunteers. Okay? Can you let me know when, I think I have until 3:40, 3:45, so when it's about 3:20, stand for a little bit, make sure that I see you, then you can sit. And I need one other timekeeper. Who else?
What time, Dr. Barker?
3:20, my first alert is 3:25.
Stand up.
Oh, I'm already hitting that. Okay, so I'll just try to go fast. So give me about at 10 minutes, stand. And then after she stands, 10 minutes later, if you can let me know. 3:40, 3:40, yeah, 3:40 is good. And that way I can kind of keep pace on where I am. So, as Dr. Garrison said before, I am originally from Arkansas. Any other Arkansans? Oh, what towns?
Little Rock.
Oh, okay. I lived in Little Rock for 2 years before I moved to St. Louis and then moved down here in Baton Rouge. So, originally from Arkansas, a little small town called Osceola, Arkansas. It's probably about 8,000 people. I went to the University of Arkansas, so I'm talking to you about connecting with faculty. I did a very poor job at doing it, and so I want to give you some helpful hints about what are some good ways to connect and why it's important. And we'll talk a little bit about the different types of ways to connect with your professors or instructors. Okay, sounds good? And I'll put this in so I don't have to move all around. I'll do this.
Do you want this first set of lights off?
Yeah, that may be good. So the first thing to remember is that professors are people too. So if you think about how you connect with your professors, on a scale from 1 to 10, on how approachable your professors are, how many of you have professors that may be somewhere between a 1 to 5? You don't really approach, they're not very approachable? Few. Okay. What about 5 to 10? Everybody else? How many of you have professors that are closer to 10? Pretty down to earth, you can talk to them about anything? Okay, quite a few. So that's great. I mean, it's definitely, you just never know what you may get every single semester. Some of you have already started these opportunity relationships with your professors. And so again, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means and how important it is. So what are some reasons that, well, first of all, how many of you have actually been to your professor's office outside of class? A few. Why? How about you?
Talk about my grade and like how I could improve it.
Talk about grades. What other reasons have you? Okay.
I was one that I was looking for like a job or some type of internship dealing with my specific major.
Connections. Okay. Nice. Somebody else. Why have you gone to your professor's office? In the back.
I went to get a letter of
Recommendation.
recommendation.
All good reasons. And so, now some of you didn't raise your hand. Is there a particular reason why you've not gone to your professor's office? No need? Didn't feel like it? Wasn't sure about it? So there's several different reasons why you may or may not go to your professor. Again, I'm going to give you some of the pitfalls of when it is a good time. Grades is a good reason, and you want to do that a little earlier than later. And we'll talk more about that. So how is interacting with faculty different than high school? How are professors different than your teachers in high school?
They have a lot more students.
A lot more students, okay. Other ways.
They like don't necessarily know you specifically.
Okay, so you may not have the camaraderie or the relationship with them as you have your high school teacher that they actually know you. Other ways they're different. Are they different? Maybe that's a good question. No? Maybe? It is a little different. Colleges are very different. I remember when I first went to school, one of the first things that someone told me was that if you want to go to class, it's completely up to you. High school teachers kind of care if you show up. If they don't see you, they're kind of concerned. Professors may or may not be. Okay, and so it's going to be even more critical that you're able to establish these relationships. So moving forward, kind of the first step is of course being there and saying hello. And you want to be able, again, I'll talk about some of the advantages of why you want to be able to connect, but really be proactive. So if you are one of those who raised your hand that you had not necessarily talked with your professor already, it's really as simple as just scheduling maybe 20 to 30 minutes during their office hours, or even outside of their office hours if they're available, and being able to just have casual conversation and not always needing something. And that's a typical response. When you need something, you go and talk to them. Otherwise, maybe not. So again, being able to form that connection without necessarily needing something right away. If you make an appointment, don't miss it. That's just scheduling time one-on-one. One of the biggest things that I didn't do that I wish I would have is being involved in your professional associations. So all of you are in the College of Agriculture, and some of you are in very specific disciplines that may have their own professional student organization. And a lot of times faculty work with those associations, so make sure that you're involved. I wasn't involved in any of my professional associations in undergrad, and I do regret that. I can tell you a story of one day I had a final term paper. And in engineering, we didn't do many papers really at all. We did most of the projects. And so I had this paper, and now I made two big mistakes. First one, my cell phone went off in class, which wasn't a very good impression. This was back in the day when cell phone was just becoming big. So my cell phone went off in class, and then the second thing is that I never talked with my professor. So it's the end of the semester, right? And I go and I have my term paper. I've stayed up all night. I've been working on it. I'm really proud about it. It was a random topic that I hated to do, but hey, I took a stab at it. So I go in and I give my professor my final paper, and he holds it and he says, he's like, it's not heavy enough. Threw it on his desk and gave me an F for the paper, and that was my one and only D that I ever had on my report card. But a part of that was that I did not establish good rapport with that particular professor, that he had already come to some conclusions about my own work ethic, and so when I gave him the paper, he didn't even bother to read it. Now, he was a horrible professor too, don't get me wrong on that, but a part of it was, I think that interaction would have gone very different if I had actually had some type of conversation with him, or he knew me much better prior to me going to his office. So sometimes it does matter to be able to have a good connection with your professors. And so what type of connection or relationship is best for you? Now, me and that professor were never going to be best friends. That just wasn't going to happen. However, there are some other possible relationships that you can have with the professor. One being supportive, research, and mentoring. And I'll go through these very quickly. But again, supportive, we'll talk more about this in the lines of academic support, research, I think somebody mentioned in terms of internships, research opportunities, and then mentoring, and I'll talk about how advising is your advisor may not be your mentor. They could be, but they don't necessarily have to. So one caution that I want to make is that if some professors are just not good with people, they piss off their own fellow faculty, their family may not even like them. They're just bad people. They're not a people person. And so you may not have the best connection. So sometimes it's just about being able to have an initial conversation. And that if you don't get along with the professor, it's cool. Don't stress about it. But again, having that initial conversation is definitely key. And so the one type of support is called academic support. And this is, if you're in class and there's a topic and you don't get it, that's okay. However, you want to, very early on, you want to go to your professor and be able to have some early conversations about what's going on in the class and how the class can be made better. And I always put here is that you're not getting married, okay? So this is not a long-term committed relationship. This is just about having an initial conversation about who you are and get to know your professor much better. I think if a professor knows who you are, it can be nothing but a great thing. Of course, that given that you're going to class and showing up on class on time and not falling asleep in class and not having your cell phone go off in class, because that's a bad way for them to get know you. So again, your professor, you never know who they may be connected to as well. So it's so important to be able to understand that once you get connected, you can be connected to someone else that they may know. Just remember that you want to avoid inappropriate conversations. So as we talk about going to office hours, just because you're going to office hours doesn't mean that you can be no holds barred and say whatever is on your mind. Okay, you still want to make sure that you maintain a professional relationship. Don't put yourself in an uncomfortable position. So if you're not comfortable with someone, I'm not saying, oh gosh, stick it out and just stay in the office. If you're not comfortable, please be sure to, and it's okay to feel that way, and remove yourself from that situation. And then, of course, once you meet with your professor, thank him or her for their time. That's extremely important. One tip I do want to make is that it's not a bad idea if you're one of those people who just don't like making small talk. Prepare some talking points before you go. Okay. So back in your mind, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I just bummed this test, and I really want them to change my grade. I have to do something. And your talking points, maybe have that towards the middle or towards the end. Okay, so think about what are some other good talking points that you can have for that professor when you go and meet. Then if you have questions, feel free to ask those as we go along. The next type of connection that's also, I think, as freshmen, you may or may not be thinking about this already, but thinking about research connections. So, is there work that your professors are doing that is of interest of you? If some of you have aspirations of going to grad school, or applying for a fellowship, or applying for a summer research opportunity, or a summer internship, having research experience can be a tremendous advantage for you. And so, being able to make that connection with your faculty member, just to be able to ask, hey, you're doing this great work. I saw that you're doing research on nutrition habits of indigenous populations. And so I have an interest of studying abroad or studying that particular area, to be able to go to them and make that connection. One, it is a great experience, and they also may know graduate advisors at other institutions. So if you're thinking about going to graduate school somewhere else, then it puts you in a great position to have this contact already. I think somebody mentioned going for a recommendation letter. Again, this comes from these connections and faculty being able to know you. Remember, if you do research, what's going to be your role in that particular project. Be open to the experience and commit. Okay, so sometimes it may be you're just pushing in numbers one day and you're bored to death. But still be committed to the experience. And then be able to share your challenges as they occur. So if you are having some issues or something is proving difficult, be sure to communicate that with your faculty research advisor. And so, again, although a lot of this grunt work is like, oh gosh, it's just extra work on top of already being a student. I already see this professor every day. Now I have to do research outside of class. It makes it as a downer, but it can lead to big bucks. So it can lead to experiences that position you that positions you well, so that you can go on to the next step. So the mentoring connection. I mentioned before that there's a difference between advising and mentoring. Okay, so there are different types of mentoring relationships. Some of you are going to have mentors in your life who are just like, oh my gosh, they changed my life completely, and those are great mentors. Some of you may have mentors that are strictly here to help advise you on your professional steps, or they're doing work that you may want to do someday, or just know people who may be able to assist you in reaching your end goal. No matter the mentorship relationship, it's really about identifying who that is for you. If someone is not your personal life mentor, then it's not about disclosing every single thing about your personal life. So really being able to identify your comfort level with that particular person, what you're willing to share. So again, one of the things I say is, again, being able to clearly articulate why a professor would be a great mentor. So you may want to mentor the students who are from Arkansas. You may want to mentor who's from Arkansas, or you may want to mentor who shares a similar background as you. Again, it's about being able to identify what that mentor may mean to you. Again, some of the benefits are very clearly outlined here. One of the biggest things is that when you are faced with difficult situations, mentors sometimes can be one of those persons that can really help you through their particular time. So whether it's one of those personal life mentors and you're really faced with life issues, because stuff happens, right? Stuff happens and life happens. And sometimes you need someone outside of your family, outside of friends who know you, but someone that can help you just think through what are some of your options. Sometimes it's academic. Some of you may be struggling academically. So it's about having someone that you can talk to that's outside of your official advisor, just be able to listen to you. But just remember, decide what you are comfortable sharing with someone. Okay? It's extremely important. And then lastly, make sure that you follow up with someone who you decide who agrees to be your mentor. I'll give you a great example. There was a young male student who's at Louisiana Tech, and he graduated from Baton Rouge, and had a chance to be a part of a program that we had here. And so he went on, so he emailed me, he's like, Dr. Barker, I would love for you to be my mentor. I'm like, oh, great, sure, I can make time, let's make it happen. I am still waiting to hear back from this student 2 years later. So whatever the case may be. And so now my impression of him is much less than it was before because he didn't follow up. So if you identify someone who can be a mentor to you, it's so critical that you follow up. Faculty have a lot of demands, just like you do. They have personal lives. They have their lives on campus, and so they're extremely busy. So when you get a faculty who's willing to commit to your success, make sure and follow up is extremely important. So one connection I want to give you is that professors are people too, and sometimes they say stuff that is completely, is off the hook still an appropriate term? Off the hook, off the chain, what's the new term? Is that close enough? I don't know what the recent term, that's good enough? Okay, so they may say something that's completely in left field, and you're just like, I cannot believe they just said that. Those moments happen, and professors are people too. And so being able to not overreact when that happens. I can give you some examples, but I won't today. And so when those situations happen, particularly if they are sensitive topics or sensitive situations, because again, anything can be said. There are avenues, if you are offended or if you feel it was inappropriate, there are avenues for you to be able to share those concerns with someone. And so we have on campus what's called a care manager that's with the Office of Student Advocacy and Accountability. And the care manager is here to help students. I mean, she is here to help students kind of think through what are my options when I feel either if I think I've been harassed or I've been discriminated against or I've been targeted in class or professors intentionally trying to disrupt my studying or my academic success. They are here for students. Student government also has what's called, have you all heard of the ombudsperson? Maybe not really. Okay, so student government has what's called a student ombudsperson. The ombudsperson they help students think through the process of dealing with a grievance that they may have. Okay, so again, if you feel like you were unjustly treated in whatever process, so whether it's dealing with another student or whether it's dealing with a professor, if you feel that you were unjustly treated, the ombudsperson is a neutral party that can sit down with you and think through how do we make things right. Because at LSU, we want you all to be successful. I mean, that's the bottom line. And we want you all to complete and be able to graduate here and have a great experience. And so a part of that, again, we understand that, sometimes maybe some of you said things that you didn't necessarily mean to say or it came out the wrong way. And so we know that, again, life happens and things happen. So we want all of you to be successful, and the care manager and the ombudsperson are two people here on campus that are specifically for students to help you through the process. And they're located, you can reach them through student government as well. So before I leave you all here, there's a challenge for each and every one of Again, some of you are already doing this, but it's the beginning of the semester, fresh start. Always love the next semester because it's another chance to get it right. Okay, so really at the beginning of the semester, your challenge is to, within 2 weeks, try and make time to meet with 2 of your professors. Okay, you may be doing great in class. Everything is copacetic. You're getting A's in your quizzes. Everything is great. But still, I challenge you to think about at least 2 professors, and I'll follow up with Dr. Garrison to see if you are able to do this. Meet with 2 professors, and not being there to discuss grades, because they can smell that coming a mile away. Okay, but think about what could you discuss outside of grades with 2 of your professors. And I've listed, again, some throughout the PowerPoint. You know, whether it's about why they're in their field, what do they recommend for you to start getting some great experiences as a student, what are good grad schools if you're thinking about graduate school for your particular area, you're thinking about career options in your field, can they suggest any? So again, not to discuss grades, again, and kind of consider the professor's background. If you are facing challenges in the material that you're studying, being able to discuss that. But I strongly encourage you to really think about what professors can you connect with this semester? Okay, that sounds doable? Yes? Yes? Show of hands, that sounds doable. Raise your hand if you're sure.
I can give him my back credit.
Oh, look at that, extra credit. You all like that? Oh yeah. So again, 2 weeks, 2 professors. We're talking probably 15 minutes, at least 15 minutes, just to go in and have a conversation so that they know exactly who you are. Okay? And be able to make the connection. Questions? How many of you have already seen this work? You want to share your example?
I go first day of class every day, or every semester, first day of class, I go up and introduce myself to the professor. Just say hi, shake their hand, just let them know that I'm in their class and that I enjoy the class that they're in.
Excellent.
Just to get them to recognize my face and like they'll notice that I'm in class every day.
Exactly. And I tell you that it does. Have you ever been in class and you see a professor interacting with a student, you're like, dang, they really like that student. Sometimes that's because the student has, and we think, oh, they can't be showing favoritism. Sure they are. I mean, professors technically don't show favoritism, but it's really about if you're able to recognize people in class that you know. It's just like when you go to an event, if there are a group of students there that are from LSU or that live in your res hall or you've had a class before and you form that connection, the same thing happens. When faculty are able to look across the room and see students like, oh yeah, okay, go Jasmine. Jasmine was just in my office the other day, and so being able to make that connection clearly makes a difference. I'll give you one more story before I end. So I did industrial engineering as undergrad, and I hated science. I love math, that's why I did engineering. But I hated science. I was not good at it. And so I had a chemistry lab, and I sucked. I mean, I hated mixing chemicals. I hated doing reports. I hated all that stuff. And the lab instructor was an advisor for an organization that I had joined on campus. Now, in my chemistry lab, I really probably should have made I would say maybe a B. I give myself a B. I was gonna say C. Probably a B. But I made an A, and that was only because one, the instructor was willing, the lab instructor was willing to work with me. But the only reason she was willing to work with me and making sure that I was able to complete my assignments was that because I knew her outside of class, and that was strictly making relationships. So again, it's really about making that connection can truly serve beneficial to you. So with that, I will, any questions? All right, and I look forward to hearing about how your connections work out.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Cook.